Hello, good evening, everyone. Beta, this is the second lecture of our intermediate microeconomics. In the last lecture, I had just gone ahead and introduced you some of the assumptions of rationality. Today, I will go a step from here and I am going to talk about first, what is an indifference curve? And then I will take you through some more assumptions of these, what are the axioms of rationality. Okay. So let us go ahead and let us start, first of all, by talking about what is an indifference curve. So please, for today, write down the topic, beta. This is my lecture number 2 that I'm starting. And I want to start by talking about an indifference curve. So indifference curve. Again, just a reminder, the book that I am following is what is suggested by Delhi University, semester 3. So it is Serrano and Feldman. Okay, Serrano and Feldman. Okay, now listen. Whenever I go ahead and I talk about an indifference curve, indifference का मतलब क्या होता है? Indifference means same. So when I talk about an indifference curve, I want to go ahead and I want to get all those points which give the consumer the same level of satisfaction. Okay. That means the consumer is indifferent between those points, then they form an indifference curve. So let us go ahead and write down the formal definition. So an indifference curve is a set or a combination of all points which give consumer equal level of satisfaction. Right? So for example, let's draw an indifference curve. Beta, this indifference curve that I'm drawing, this is called as a well-defined indifference curve, well-defined IC. Well-defined mane kya? Well-defined means it will consider all the properties. It will satisfy all properties, whichever we are going to mention. So we already did 2 properties, which is completeness and transitivity. I will do other properties today, but you have to understand that it will satisfy all the properties. Anything that is going through all the properties, that is satisfying everything, that is known as a well-defined indifference curve. Now, I am saying it is a combination of all points which give you the same level of satisfaction. What does this mean? If I take point A and I take point B, then beta, it means that A and B should give you the same level of satisfaction, which means that consumer should like the 2 bundles equally. So suppose I take good X here and I take good Y here. Right? So beta, point A will have this much amount of X. Let's say it has 1 unit of X and let's say it has 5 units of Y. Let's say point B beta, it has 2.5 units of X and let's say it has 2 units of Y. Now, I explained to you that we can always represent the satisfaction by something which is known as a utility function. किसी भी satisfaction को हम एक utility function से represent कर सकते हैं. So for example, what I can say is, let's say that my utility function that I have, but this is like this. U of xy is equal to x into y. What does this mean? It means that you have some amount of x, you have some amount of y. When you multiply that two things together, उससे आप utility को define कर रहे हो. This may not always be the case. It's a function. ये function कुछ भी हो सकता है. My utility function could very well be root xy. My utility function can very well be xy square. My utility function can very well be x plus y. Your utility function can be anything. Zaruri nahi hai, it has to be x into y. But I am taking an example that suppose beta your utility function is x into y. Now, can you tell me what will be the utility at point A? So point A basically has 1 unit of x and 5 units of y. So point A is 1, 5. So instead of x, I will write 1. Instead of y, I will write 5. So beta, what will I get? 1 into 5. This will be 5. Utility is represented in utils. So this is giving me 5 utils of utility. Now what I can do? I can go ahead and I can also find utility at point B. So better, let's see utility at point B. At point B, I have 2.5 units of x and 2 units of y. So better, this is going to be 2.5, 2. How can I calculate utility? Utility will be 2.5 into 2. 2.5 into 2 is also 5. So what do I see? I see that I am getting the same level of satisfaction. Both of these bundles are giving me 5 utils each. So because they are giving me the same level of satisfaction, I can go ahead and I can say that A and B are 2 points between which I am indifferent. And I know how we can write indifference. So beta, if I am indifferent between A and B, I will use this symbol. You remember this? This symbol, it is the sign of indifference. And what is the meaning of indifference here? The meaning of indifference is that if I am indifferent between A and B, this implies that utility from A and utility from B are equal. And this is what I have got. So now, let's see what we have studied. We have studied that indifference curve contains all those points which give me the same level of satisfaction. I am showing here that point A and B are giving me the same level of satisfaction or utility. And therefore, I am indifferent between A and B. Therefore, they are coming on the same IC. ठीक है जी, ये clear हो गया indifference curve क्या होता है. Now, I will continue with one of the property, and that is known as beta. So this is property number 3. First was completeness. We did it in the last class. Second was transitivity. We did it in the last class. Now today, I want to do monotonicity. Monotonicity. So let us try to understand what is monotonicity. तो बेटा monotonicity में ध्यान से देखो, mono means more. So when I say monotonicity, it means more is preferred. More is preferred. Now, before I go into monotonicity, please understand that my goods can be classified into 2 types. One is called a good good, and one is known as a bad good. But a good good is that good which when consumed will increase your utility. Just for example, I love pizzas. So pizza is a good for me, right? I love studying. So studying is also good for me. I love leisure. Leisure is also good for me, right? Whatever you enjoy, whichever gives you more and more utility. When you increase the consumption, it gives you more utility. It is a good. But what are bad goods? Which, when consumed, decrease your utility. Just a pollution. Pollution is a bad good for me. Just a viral fever. If I have fever right now, it's a bad good for me. COVID, it's a bad good for me. So beta, any good can be either a good or a bad good. Good goods are those goods which, when consumed, increase your utility. And bad goods are those goods which, when consumed, decrease your utility. ठीक है जी, अब समझो एक और चीज हो सकती है. Sometimes a good after a bliss point becomes a bad good. ये कॉन्सेप्ट बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है, ये सब लोग नहीं समझ पाते, ये समझना जरूरी है. Sometimes a good after you have gone ahead and you have consumed it in the enough amount, it becomes a bad good. Let's take an example to it. So for example, but I love having pani puri, right? Or you call it as golgappas, pani puris, whatever you call it in your region, right? Now, after a point of time, when I keep consuming, I will reach the maximum level of satisfaction. Keep giving me that even after I have reached the maximum satisfaction. Maybe now I don't want to consume it further. Increasing the consumption further will decrease my utility. So it's like this. You give me the first unit, I loved having it. You give me the second unit, still I loved having it. There is a point where I have reached the maximum. Maybe I can have maximum of 6 units of golgappas. Now you give me the 7th unit. It will reduce my utility. You give me the 10th unit, maybe even I will vomit, right? So after a certain point, you will not welcome that commodity. In that case, you will not prefer more. You will prefer less. So till the point you go from here to here now, as you increase consumption, यहाँ से यहाँ जाने के बीच की जो जर्नी है, जब आप फर्स्ट यूनिट से लेके 6 तक जा रहे हो, as you increase consumption, I will prefer more of it. But after a point, maybe I don't want to prefer more of it. So sometimes you may not welcome a commodity after a certain level. But generally speaking, as you increase consumption for good goods, your utility should increase. मतलब अगर आप मेरे को ज्यादा घर दे दो, एक की जगह मैं 2 घर बना लूं, 3 घर, 4 घर, 10 घर, मेरे को अच्छा ही अच्छा है. अगर आप मेरे को एजुकेशन फॉर एग्जाम्पल क्लास 10 तक पढ़ाओ या 12 तक या ग्रेजुएशन, पोस्ट ग्रेजुएशन, पीएचडी, मेरे लिए एजुकेशन इज अ गुड. जितना ज्यादा पढ़ाते जाओगे, आई विल बी मोर बेटर ऑफ. सो इन जनरल, whatever there are good goods, जो भी good goods होते हैं, as you increase their consumption, जैसे जैसे आप उनकी consumption बढ़ाते हो, you go ahead and you get better and more utility. So please write down monotonicity को हम लिख लेते हैं. So write down monotonicity assumes that goods are desirable. So monotonicity is assuming that goods are desirable. Matlab goods are good goods, right? So if goods are good goods, which means that consumer, please beta definitions clear honi chahiye aapko, prefers consuming more of good over less of good. So you will prefer consuming more over less. This is the definition of monotonicity. More is preferred to less. Matlab, I will prefer if you give me one pizza, but two pizza or better, but three pizzas are or better. So the more you give me, the better it is. Now just think about it. Suppose beta I have two bundles. एक bundle है x1 y1 और दूसरा bundle है x2 y2. So I have two bundles, x1 y1 and x2 y2. How do I compare? मुझे कैसे पता किसको prefer करना है? So there should be one thing. Either I can have y as same. Y as same. Then I will prefer the one with more x. Example. जैसे एक bundle हो गया 10,7 and other bundle is 4,7. So beta I have the same amount of y. Then one with more x should be preferred. ठीक है. दूसरी चीज क्या हो सकती है? Suppose I have again two bundles x1 y1 and x2 y2. I want to compare. So beta, if this has more of good x also and more of good y also, then you will prefer this bundle. जैसे for example, ये जो bundle है, this is 7,9. And this bundle beta, this is 1,4. Clearly, this has more of x now and more of y also now. So this will be preferred. Check it. But suppose beta, you have two bundles. Just one is 1,4 and other suppose even is 100,2. Then you cannot compare. क्यों? क्योंकि इसमें गुड x बढ़ रहा है और इसमें गुड y बढ़ रहा है. Then comparison is not possible. So I can only compare when you have the same amount of one good and more of the other good, or you have more of both the goods. Then monotonicity says that this bundle will be preferred. But जब एक में x ज्यादा है और दूसरे में y ज्यादा है, then I cannot compare. Then comparison is not possible. ठीक है बेटा? So please write down these points. Definition ये हो गई monotonicity की. Now we should go ahead and write what it means. So please write down. Given two bundles x and y, x is preferred over y if one of the two holds. So what are the two things that can happen? First, x bundle has more of one good and no less of other good as compared to y. तो या तो ये हो जाए कि x में गुड 1 y से ज्यादा है और गुड 2 दोनों में बराबर है. So x has more of one good and it should not have less of the other good as compared to y, or x bundle has more of both goods as compared to bundle Y. So if one of these things is happening, then we can say that X will be preferred to Y. And beta, what is the sign of preference? This. So X will be preferred to Y if any of these two things happen. ये monotonicity का concept है कि जिसमें ज्यादा अमाउंट होगा आप उस बंडल को प्रेफर करोगे. सो इसमें दोनों ही गुड ज्यादा है इसलिए इसको प्रेफर कर रहे हैं, और इसमें ये वाला गुड ज्यादा है और दूसरे वाला कम नहीं है इसलिए इसको प्रेफर कर रहे हैं. राइट? जस्ट राइट डाउन वन नोट हियर. सो नोट, sometimes after consumption of good, the good may not be welcomed. That is, the consumer may be saturated. Beta, I am making you write this so that you can write good answers in exam. सिर्फ समझना जरूरी नहीं है, एग्जाम में कैसे आंसर्स लिखोगे वो भी जानना बहुत ही जरूरी है. So it is important that you go ahead and also understand how to write these in exam, right? So please write down that sometimes a good may become saturated. So इसका मतलब ये है कि एक पॉइंट के बाद आप उसको कंज्यूम नहीं करना चाहोगे, right? Example, a consumer may not want cake after 5 units. तो उस टाइम पे फिर मोनोटोनिसिटी विल नॉट होल्ड ट्रू. मोर विल नॉट बी प्रेफर्ड. 5 के बाद उसका सैचुरेशन आ गया है, अब वो और कंज्यूम नहीं कर सकता. बट प्लीज राइट डाउन, बट इफ द गुड्स are more generally defined. बेटा generally defined को अंडरलाइन करो. एक बात समझो, आप ऐसे तो बोल सकते हो कि 5 यूनिट्स ऑफ केक के बाद मैं और केक नहीं खा सकती, बट when it comes to general definition, जैसे अगर मैं बोलूं आपको ज्यादा खाना चाहिए या कम, do you prefer more food or less food? So you will say I prefer more food. So food is a general thing. So when goods are generally defined, then you will always say monotonicity holds true. ठीक है? जैसे food, जैसे education, जैसे house. But शायद अगर house की जगह आप specific हो जाओ, that do you want more of 1 BHKs? I will say no. एक point के बाद मैं 1 BHK से saturate हो गई. I need 2 BHKs. I need 3 BHKs. Are you getting it? So when we go for specific things, after a point of time, monotonicity will not hold true. People will get saturated. But when you go for general things like housing, like food, then you will always assume that more is preferred. So when goods are more generally defined, then monotonicity is reasonable assumption. Okay, beta. Now, आगे बढ़ते हैं. Now I want to talk about two things. This can come in exam. So question number 1. Can ICs be upward sloping? Can ICs be upward sloping? ध्यान से समझना बेटा. So I have taken an IC which looks like this. Okay. Now consider 2 points. Like I take a point A and point B. But a point A has 4 units of good X and 3 units of good Y. And point B has 6 units of good X and let's say 4 units of good Y. But I am saying good X and Y are good goods. This is given to you. Good goods माने मेरे को उनकी कंजम्पशन बढ़ानी है. So more is preferred. More is preferred. Now just consider bundle A, beta. Bundle A is 4,3. 4 units of good X and 3 units of good Y. Bundle B is 6 units of good X and 4 units of good Y. Clearly, if I go by the definition of monotonicity, it says if you have more of both the goods, you will prefer that bundle over the other bundle. So because bundle B has more of good X and more of good Y, B के पास X भी ज्यादा है और Y भी ज्यादा है, तो मैं B को A के ऊपर प्रेफरेंस दूंगी ना. So clearly bundle B has more of both goods. B का good X भी ज्यादा है और Y भी. So beta, this means that B should be preferred over A. But A और B तो same IC पर है. A and B are on same IC. और इंडिफरेंस कर्व की क्या डेफिनेशन थी कि अगर दो पॉइंट्स सेम इंडिफरेंस कर्व पे हैं तो उनसे जो सैटिस्फैक्शन मिल रही है वो सेम होनी चाहिए. दैट मींस आई शुड बी इंडिफरेंट बिटवीन ए एंड बी. ये तो कॉन्ट्राडिक्शन हो गई. एक बोलता है बी को ए के ऊपर प्रेफर करो, एक बोलता है ए और बी को इक्वल प्रेफरेंस दो. ये कहां से आ रहा है? ये आ रहा है मोनोटोनिसिटी से, क्योंकि बी के पास दोनों ही गुड्स की ज्यादा अमाउंट है. ये आ रहा है डेफिनेशन ऑफ आईसी से, क्योंकि दोनों सेम इंडिफरेंस कर्व पे हैं. So this is a contradiction. This tells me B should be preferred, and this tells me A and B should be equal to each other. So we can say that this is contradictory. Therefore, IC cannot be upward sloping if both goods are good goods. But IC can still be upward sloping when I have one good as a bad good. ये वाला केस मैं अभी नहीं कर रही हूँ, ये इस बुक में अभी नहीं है. I will do it as part of my assignment. उसमें मैं आपको ये क्वेश्चन समझाऊंगी. But as of now, you just have to remember that IC अगर दोनों ही good goods हैं तो IC upward sloping नहीं हो सकता है, और यही हम यहाँ पे प्रूफ कर रहे हैं. ये हमारे यहाँ पे कॉन्ट्राडिक्शन आ गई और कॉन्ट्राडिक्शन से ये प्रूफ हो गया. अब मैं क्वेश्चन नंबर 2 पे आती हूँ यहाँ से. बेटा all this can come in exam, okay? It can come as a 5-mark question. So write down the second question, beta. Can IC be thick downward sloping curve? So beta, supposedly I am asking this question. Let's say this is good X, and let's say beta this is good Y. Okay. I am asking, can my IC look like this? Can it be thick? ऐसा कुछ IC दिख सकता है क्या? This is what I am asking. Okay, beta. So try to understand this thing. Suppose I take 2 points on this IC. एक point ले लिया मैंने बेटा, point A, और एक point I have taken बेटा point B. A has 4 units of good X and say 2 units of good Y. B has 5 units of good X and let's say beta 3 units of good Y. Okay. So let's write this down. Bundle A, this is beta 4, 2. Bundle B, दिस इज बेटा 5,3. मोनोटोनिसिटी की डेफिनेशन से समझो. सो मोनोटोनिसिटी सेज मोर इज प्रेफर्ड, है ना. सो बेटा बंडल बी में दोनों ही गुड ज्यादा हैं, गुड 1 भी और गुड 2 भी. बंडल बी हैज मोर ऑफ बोथ द गुड्स. सो बिकॉज बंडल बी हैज मोर ऑफ गुड एक्स and more of good y, B should be preferred to A. So B has more of both the goods. Therefore, beta B should be preferred to A. Bundle B should be preferred to A. ठीक है. अब आगे समझो बेटा, B और A तो सेम IC पर ही है ना, ये पूरी की पूरी स्ट्रेच एक IC है. So we can say, but B and A are on same indifference curve. अगर सेम IC पे हैं, so by the definition of indifference curve, you should be indifferent between A and B. This is coming by definition of indifference curve. So this tells me that B should be preferred to A. But this tells me that A and B are indifferent to each other. So contradiction हो गई ना. So therefore contradiction. So therefore I cannot have thick ICs. ठीक है बेटा. So अब हमें समझ में आ गया ICs thick भी नहीं हो सकते, और अगर दोनों गुड्स है तो IC अपवर्ड स्लोपिंग भी नहीं हो सकते. सो मोनोटोनिसिटी की वजह से IC होंगे कैसे? हाउ विल द IC लुक? सो प्लीज राइट डाउन द ओनली ग्राफ compatible with monotonicity is a downward sloping IC. So beta, how can my IC look? Monotonicity की वजह से it can only look like this. This is my IC. Good X, good Y. ठीक है. एक बारी थोड़ा सा समझते हैं बेटा. लेट मी से दैट दिस इज पॉइंट A. ठीक है. कंसिडर अ बंडल लाइक पॉइंट B. सो बेटा as compared to A, B has more of good X and more of good Y. B has more of good X and more of good Y. So beta B should be preferred to A. Therefore A के ऊपर का जो रीजन है, जैसे यहाँ पे पॉइंट B हो गया या पॉइंट C हो गया, ये रीजन हो गया मोर प्रेफर्ड रीजन. सो एक्चुअली हमने एक पॉइंट के लिए प्रूव कर दिया. वी डोंट हैव टू प्रूव फॉर ऑल पॉइंट्स, बट ऑल पॉइंट्स अबव दिस IC, all this region beta, this region is known as more preferred set. ठीक है. It is called as more preferred set because of monotonicity, because more is preferred. ऐसे ही एक बंडल ले लो बेटा, बंडल C. C में A के कंपैरिजन में C has less of X and less of Y. X is also reducing and Y is also reducing. So bundle C has less of both goods as compared to bundle A. If C has less of both the goods, अगर C में good X भी कम है और Y भी, so C should be less preferred to A ना. So on very similar notice beta, all this region is called as the less preferred set. So I have, and हमें तो पता ही है, points on IC means you have the same level of satisfaction. So what we have got? We have got that all points on this IC will give me same level of satisfaction. All points above IC represent more preferred set, and all points below IC represent less preferred set. So this is how you can go ahead and you can divide the entire region, right? But we want to write this down also. Please write it with me. So please write down. By monotonicity assumption, all points above the indifference curve represent more preferred set. And all points below indifference curve represent less preferred set. ठीक है? So जो उससे नीचे है वो less preferred है, जो उसके ऊपर है वो more preferred है. Question number 3. So question number 2 बेटा हमने पूछा, can ICs be thick downward sloping curve? Question number 1 हमने पूछा था, can ICs be upward sloping? Now I am writing question number 3. So please write down question number 3 beta. Can indifference curve intersect each other? That's the third question. Okay. Again, beta, I will go ahead and I will start with my diagram. So this is good X and this is good Y. Okay, beta. This is my IC1 and this is my IC2. I'm going to take 3 points now. So beta ये हो गया point A, point B and point C. Okay. Let me just extend this a bit for easy understanding. यहाँ तक ले लेते हैं. This is IC1. Now consider. Beta compare B and C. Just compare B and C. B and C के हिसाब से C has more of both the goods. X भी बढ़ रहा है और Y भी बढ़ रहा है. So C has more of both goods as compared to B. C has more of both the goods as compared to B. So beta, this means that I will prefer C over B. So clearly C should be preferred over B. और क्या reason दे सकते हैं हम? Monotonicity. More is preferred. ठीक है बेटा? Now see this. Beta, if I look at IC1, this IC, I'm looking at IC1. Then I see that A and B, they are on IC1. So A and B lie on IC1. From here, because they're on the same indifference curve, I should get the same level of satisfaction. I should be indifferent between the two. So this is by definition of IC. Similarly, beta, if you see A and C are on the same indifference curve. So A and C lie on IC2. So this again means that I should be indifferent between A and C. This is again beta by definition of IC. अब देखो, मैं ए और बी के बीच में इंडिफरेंट हूं एंड ए और सी के बीच में भी इंडिफरेंट हूं. सो बेटा बाय ट्रांजिटिविटी ए और बी सेम सेटिस्फैक्शन देते हैं, ए और सी भी सेम सेटिस्फैक्शन देते हैं, तो बी और सी भी तो सेम सेटिस्फैक्शन देंगे ना. दैट इज व्हाट ट्रांजिटिविटी इज, राइट? So this implies that B and C should give me the same level of satisfaction. But I just proved that C gives me more satisfaction than B. So therefore, contradiction. This tells me that B and C give me same level of satisfaction. This tells me beta that C gives me more than B. दोनों चीजें तो नहीं हो सकती ना. So therefore, you cannot have ICs that cut each other. ठीक है. सो बेटा ये बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट था. हमने एक एजम्पशन यानी सिर्फ मोनोटोनिसिटी से सिर्फ वन एजम्पशन वी हैव डन टिल नाउ व्हिच इज मोनोटोनिसिटी, एंड फ्रॉम दिस एजम्पशन वी हैव आंसर्ड 3 क्वेश्चंस: अपवर्ड स्लोपिंग, थिक आईसीज एंड क्रॉसिंग आईसीज. ये तीनों क्वेश्चन इसी से प्रूव हो जाते हैं कि मोनोटोनिसिटी हैज टू बी सैटिस्फाइड. नाउ I come to the next assumption, so please write down. Fourth assumption. And this fourth assumption that we have, this assumption is called convexity. So to prove this, what you can do? You can just go ahead and understand something like this. Let's say this is my IC. I am taking good X here and I am taking good Y here. Okay. Now, first of all, try to understand the concept of weighted average. And to understand weighted average, बेटा पहले समझना होगा कि एवरेज क्या होता है. वेटेड बाद में समझते हैं, पहले समझना पड़ेगा कि व्हाट इज एन एवरेज. सो लेट अस गो अहेड एंड लेट अस टेक 2 points. बेटा माय फर्स्ट पॉइंट is 10 here and suppose 2 here. And my second point, beta, let's say I can take 2 here and 10 here. 2 points ले लिए मैंने. I can name this as point A and this as point B. Beta, if I ask you what is the average of A and B, तो average में हम A और B को equal and half का weightage देते हैं. So in average, we give weightage of half to each bundle. ठीक है. मतलब I am giving a weightage of half to A and a weightage of half to B, and I'm adding them to form the new bundle C. ठीक है. So bundle A क्या था बेटा? Bundle A था 2,10. यही bundle A था ना? नहीं, 10, हाँ 2,10. So 2 units of good X and 10 units of good Y. So bundle A was 2,10. Multiply this with half. And bundle B beta was 10,2. 10 units of good X and 2 units of good Y. Multiply this also with half. So beta half से multiply करके ये हो जाएगा 2 divided by 2, 10 divided by 2 plus 10 divided by 2, 2 divided by 2. This will be beta 1,5 plus 5,1. So 1 plus 5 is 6. 5 plus 1 is 6. This will be beta 6,6. So what is the meaning of average? क्या समझ में आया हमें? Average क्या है? When you give a weightage of half to each bundle, that is called average. But a weighted average में you may give any weightage. जरूरी नहीं है हाफ देनी है। मतलब वेटेड एवरेज निकालने के लिए मैं 3/4 भी ए को दे सकती हूँ और 1/4 बी को दे सकती हूँ, या मैं 9/10 ए को दे सकती हूँ और 1/10 बी को दे सकती हूँ। So weighted average means you can give any, don't worry, I will write that down, but पहले समझो. So weighted average means I can give any weightage to A and any weightage to B. That is called as weighted average. ठीक है बेटा? So for example, in this case, I am going ahead and I am saying that I can give any weight alpha to A and any weight beta to B. ये कुछ भी हो सकती है values. अब हम इसको मैथमेटिकली कैसे शो करेंगे ये भी इंपॉर्टेंट है। सो इसको मैथमेटिकली रिप्रेजेंट करने के लिए व्हाट विल यू डू? यू विल जॉइन ए टू बी, यू विल जॉइन ए टू बी एनी पॉइंट ऑन दिस लाइन। बेटा चाहे ये पॉइंट यहां हो, यहां हो, यहां हो, यहां, एनी पॉइंट, जो भी पॉइंट इस लाइन पर आ रहा है ए टू बी की, these all points represent weighted average points. समझे? ये सारे के सारे पॉइंट्स ही वेटेड एवरेज रिप्रेजेंट करते हैं। अब सपोज मैंने इसमें से एक पॉइंट ले लिया, सपोज आई टेक पॉइंट सी, और ये पॉइंट सी हो गया जहां पे मैंने ए और बी को इक्वल वेटेज दी थी। आई हैड गिवन इक्वल वेटेजेस, मतलब ये वाला पॉइंट, bundle C. So beta, what is this bundle? This bundle is 6,6 na. So this bundle is here. Suppose I have 6 here and beta 6 here, and this is this bundle C. ठीक है जी? जितने वेटेड एवरेजेस हैं, बेशक हाफ हाफ का वेट हो या कोई और वेटेज हो, they will lie between A to B. These all bundles will be here. अब बंडल सी से सबसे पहले हमें बहुत क्लियर है, थ्रू मोनोटोनिसिटी दैट वी हैव स्टडीड, दैट बेटा एनी बंडल अबव दिस आईसी इज मोर प्रेफर्ड। ये बंडल तो इस आईसी के ऊपर लाई कर रहा है, सो इट शुड बी मोर प्रेफर्ड। दूसरा तरीका समझो, सपोज बेटा आई ड्रॉ एन इंडिफरेंस कर्व थ्रू सी, दिस इज अ हायर इंडिफरेंस कर्व ना। So higher indifference curve represents more satisfaction, more utility. So what are we trying to do? क्या किया हमने? हमने दो बंडल्स लिए, हमने इन दोनों बंडल्स के बीच से एक लाइन ड्रॉ की। हमने बोला इस लाइन पे जो भी बंडल लाई करेगा वो हायर इंडिफरेंस कर्व से पास होगा, मतलब वो ज्यादा यूटिलिटी देगा। चीज को कॉन्वेक्सिटी बोलते हैं। दिस इज कॉल्ड कॉन्वेक्सिटी। लेट अस ट्राई टू राइट दिस डाउन। सो प्लीज राइट इट विद मी। कॉन्वेक्सिटी, प्लीज आस्क मी इफ देयर इज एनी डाउट बेटा, प्लीज। कॉन्वेक्सिटी means that averages are preferred over extremes. एक्सट्रीम माने ये तो जो पॉइंट हमने लिए इनको मैं एक्सट्रीम बोल रही हूं। एवरेज माने कोई भी बंडल जो इस लाइन पर लाई कर रहा है, जैसे ये, और ये सारे बंडल इंडिफरेंस कर्व से ऊपर लाई कर रहे हैं ना। सो क्योंकि वो ऊपर लाई कर रहे हैं, वो मोर प्रेफर्ड रीजन में, एंड मोर प्रेफर्ड वुड मीन दैट सैटिस्फैक्शन इज मोर, सो यूटिलिटी ज्यादा दे रही है। सो दिस इज व्हाट आई हैव रिटन। Convexity means that averages are preferred over mean. So please write down. इसको continue करो. We call preferences well behaved when ICs are downward sloping and convex. बेटा डाउनवर्ड स्लोपिंग क्यों हो रही थी? मोनोटोनिसिटी की वजह से। हमने ऊपर प्रूफ किया कि इट विल बी अ लाइन विच इज डाउनवर्ड स्लोपिंग, वो मोनोटोनिसिटी था। एंड नाउ वी आर सेइंग दैट इट शुड आल्सो बी कॉन्वेक्स। कॉन्वेक्स का मतलब क्या है कि एवरेज शुड बी प्रेफर्ड ओवर मीन। और अगर ये दोनों प्रॉपर्टी सेटिस्फाई है कि आईसी डाउनवर्ड स्लोपिंग भी है और आईसी कॉन्वेक्स भी है, तो उस आईसी को वेल बिहेव्ड बोलते हैं, राइट? इट इज कॉल्ड एज वेल बिहेव्ड। कॉन्ट्राडिक्शन होता है कॉनकेव प्रेफरेंसेस। सो प्लीज राइट डाउन द ऑपोजिट ऑफ कॉन्वेक्स is concave preference. पहले समझते हैं कॉनकेव होती कब है। So take an example. Beta, what happens is that a lot of times you have goods which you don't want to consume together. जैसे for example, I don't want to have classical and hip hop music on the same day. या मैं क्लासिकल सुनूंगी या हिप हॉप, दोनों तो नहीं सुन सकती ना। I don't want to have sushi and chocolate ice cream on the same day. I don't want to have milk and wine on the same day, right? So concave represents those preferences. कौन से ICs concave होते हैं? When you like the two goods, but you don't want to consume them together. So concave preferences represent those goods which consumer doesn't want to consume together. Like, you cannot listen to classical and hip hop music on same day. Matlab, at least I cannot listen, right? So that is a concave. You cannot wear orange and pink together, na? That's also concave. So जब दो चीजों में से सिर्फ एक ही करते हो, वो concave preference कहलाता है. These preferences, beta, are represented by this. These preferences are represented by this. ठीक है? अब देखो ध्यान से बेटा, इसमें again I will take two bundles, bundle A, bundle B. How did I teach you? How can you find weighted average? Beta, you can find weighted average only by joining the bundle. So I will join these two together. Whatever bundle will lie on this line is my weighted average. So beta, bundle C is your weighted average. But now if I pass an IC through bundle C, तो बेटा ये तो लोअर आईसी हो गया ना, ऊपर नहीं हो रहा ये आईसी। देखो यहाँ पे जब सी से पास कर रहे थे, इट वाज ऑन अ हायर इंडिफरेंस कर्व। यहाँ पे जब मैं इस वेटेड एवरेज से पास कर रही हूँ, इट इज ऑन अ लोअर इंडिफरेंस कर्व. सो इन दिस केस this is not convex. Weighted average is not preferred to extreme. So I can say that this represents concave indifference curve. Consumer prefers extreme point X and Y over weighted average. Sorry. So consumer is preferring extreme point over the weighted average point. I hope you are clear with the point of concavity and convexity. बहुत important है बेटा ये जानना कि convex और concave preference होती क्या है. ठीक है बेटा? अच्छा, अब एक क्वेश्चन करते हैं बेटा. दिस इज your exercise, back exercise of your book, and I am going ahead and I am doing question number 2, part A. Question 2, part A. It says, consider the utility function. You are given the utility function as x1 into x2. Sir, part A kar rahe abhi hum. Sorry. And it says, graph the indifference curve for utility levels 1 and 2. Okay, beta. Better to understand this, I want to take you through a concept in maths. You must have done this concept. And that's the concept of level curve. Okay, बेटा समझो. देखो बेटा, जो मेरा यूटिलिटी दिया हुआ है ना, वो दिया हुआ है x1 into x2. This is the amount of good 1. And this is the amount of good 2. Sorry. Now, but as you will fluctuate 1 and 2, utility will also fluctuate. Suppose you put good 1 as 1, amount of good 2 as 2, so utility ho gayi 2. But if you change good 1 to 2 and good 2 to 3, the utility will be 6, no? So as you fluctuate the amount of good 1 and 2, the utility that you will get will also fluctuate, will also change. So it should be a 3D diagram. It should be a 3D diagram. क्यों भाई? क्योंकि जब हमने x1 ले लिया, ये हमने x2 ले लिया, ये हमने u ले लिया यूटिलिटी. जब x1 1 था और x2 2 था, तो यूटिलिटी 2 की थी. और जब x1 2 हुआ और x2 3 हुआ, तो यूटिलिटी कितनी हो गई? यूटिलिटी 6 की हो गई. Somewhere here. So बेटा ये मतलब हो गया कि मेरे को एक 3D डायग्राम ये प्रेजेंटेशन के लिए चाहिए होगा between utility and between the two goods. So that ways, if you start plotting it, beta, it will come out to be a 3D diagram. ऐसा कुछ बनता है ये. 3D diagram बन जाता है एक अलग से. You will get 3D diagram like this. Now, in maths, it's fine. But in economics, we want to keep simpler. We don't want to work with a 3D diagram. So I can work with a 2D diagram. In order to convert this 3D diagram into a 2D diagram, what can I do? I can keep utility constant. So beta, when you keep utility constant, when you hold utility constant, right, then as you fluctuate the consumption of two goods, when you keep the z axis constant, जब मैंने इसको constant ही रख दिया और फिर मैंने ये दो axis को fluctuate किया, what I get is a 2D diagram, and that is called as a level curve. So basically, all ICs are level curves. Because I am keeping the third variable, utility, as constant. So all indifference curves are level curves. Example ले लेते हैं बेटा. और इसी से हमारा ये exercise question भी solve हो जाएगा. So it says, keep utility level at 1. No problem. So my utility function is given to me as x1 into x2 now. So I will keep utility level at 1. So 1 is equal to x1 into x2. अलग अलग values निकाल के देखो. Beta, this is good 1 and this is good 2. 1 into 1 is 1. 2 into half is 1. Half into 2 is 1. 3 into 1 by 3 is 1. 1 by 3 into 3 is 1. So if I go ahead and I plot this, if I were to plot this, this is good x, good 1 ले लेते हैं actually, क्योंकि 1 2 के terms में दिया है, and this is good 2. Beta, this is 1 and this is 1. This point should lie on my indifference curve. Then beta, this is half and this is 2. This point should also lie on your indifference curve. Beta, this is half and suppose this is 2. So this point should also lie on your indifference curve. सबके utility तो 1 की ही है ना. Just join these. So beta, this will give you your IC. Is this clear? So it is very simple to make an IC. To make an indifference curve, you have to hold your utility level constant. And because you are fluctuating these two things, holding the Z variable constant, beta, an indifference curve is called a level curve. जैसे यहाँ पर ये क्या represent कर रहा है? That utility level is 1. ऐसे ही, it is your homework to plot the indifference curve for utility level of 2. ठीक है जी? So I will stop this lecture today, beta, for today here itself, and then we will go ahead and we will meet you in the next lecture. Okay? Bye.